Welcome to the deep dive. If you've been paying any attention to the conversations around health and longevity, hormone replacement therapies are.
Well, they're everywhere.
They really are. We're hearing constantly about testosterone, thyroid, growth hormone, you name it.
And that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive today. Our mission is to cut through that noise.
It's critical because with all this information, the risk of reductionism, thinking one single hormone can fix everything, it just skyrockets.
Right. You can't just take one thing to fix your energy, your libido, your entire body composition.
You can't. And based on the material we looked at, the biggest takeaway isn't even about the hormones themselves. It's about the landscape they operate in.
The coherent biological terrain, as the
Yeah.
research calls it. It's about getting the whole system, the whole synergy, right?
That terrain is the non-negotiable 95% of your health.
Yeah.
Think of it like this. No replacement hormone will work if your body is metabolically broken.
So if your insulin sensitivity is shot and your whole system is out of whack, you're just pouring expensive hormones into a system that can't even use them, which is why, professional guidance isn't just a good idea, it's essential.
Okay, so let's unpack that system. Let's start with the absolute basics. What are hormones fundamentally?
They're communicators. That's really the simplest way to put it. They're chemical messengers released by your endocrine glands.
And they can be, what, steroids or something else?
Yeah, either steroids, like testosterone, or they're polypeptides, which are basically these complex chains of amino acids. But their job is always to carry instructions.
And those instructions aren't just for one thing like building muscle. They're running the whole show.
The whole show. Everything. We tend to fixate on metabolism, but they also govern your immune system. They determine if you're building up or breaking down tissue.
So anabolic versus catabolic.
Exactly. And they have huge neurotropic effects. They directly impact how your brain works, your mood, your focus, and of course, cardiovascular health.
What's really fascinating is how this whole system changes over a lifetime. It's not static.
Not at all. It's a symphony that's constantly changing.
Hmm.
You don't get that big testosterone surge until a boy hits puberty around 13 or 14.
And things like growth hormone peak in your teens.
Right. And then it slowly declines. Same with estradiol and progesterone in women. They follow their own dynamic cycles starting in adolescence. It's why any replacement has to be tuned to your age and your specific context.
And that dynamic nature is what makes the synergy principle so important. If I change one thing,
You send ripples through the entire system. Any change, up or down, in one hormone can affect the whole panel and, more importantly, your entire metabolism.
so if you don't fix the other 95%, your sleep, your diet,
Yeah.
you're just throwing a wrench in the works.
You're just adding a complex variable to an already unstable equation.
Let's dive into the specific hormones that often need repositioning, but let's keep coming back to that 95% rule. First up, the master thermostat, thyroid, T4 and T3.
Right. So the thyroid gland releases T4. Think of T4 as a bank check. It's potential energy, but your body can't actually spend it yet.
So it has to be cash first. Where does that happen?
Primarily in the liver and the kidneys. The process is called deiodination, and it converts T4 into the active currency, which is T3.
And T3 is what gives you that focus, that drive.
That's what gives you cognitive focus. It helps elevate dopamine for mood and motivation, and it drives your metabolism. It's what facilitates lipolysis or, the actual burning of fat.
So when that conversion system breaks down, what does that feel like?
Oh, it's overwhelming. You get that classic mental fog, you feel cold, you retain fluid. People struggle so much just to wake up in the morning.
And there's that specific sign, right? The puffiness in the face.
The facial myxedema, yeah, that puffy look when you first wake up, it's a big red flag.
So the goal with guided repositioning is to get the TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone, below 2.5. Why that number?
Because TSH is what your brain sends out to scream at your thyroid to work harder. If your TSH is high, like a 4 or 5, it means your brain is yelling because the thyroid is struggling.
So getting it below 2.5 means the system is working efficiently, not just surviving.
Exactly. And here's the 95% connection. If your liver is unhealthy from a poor diet, it can't make that T4 to T3 conversion efficiently, so the medication itself becomes less effective.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, let's move to the one that gets all the press. Testosterone replacement therapy, TRT.
Right. Testosterone has two crucial roles. The anabolic part is what people focus on, building and maintaining muscle, fighting that age-related breakdown.
And that's important for both men and women.
Crucial. But the non-muscle side is what often gets missed. We have to talk about its estrogenic capacities.
Wait, hold on. That's where people get nervous. Testosterone creating estrogen.
I know it sounds counterintuitive, but a controlled, healthy amount of conversion to estrogen is necessary. It's derived from DHT, and it's vital for things like dopamine elevation, erectile function, and even the ability to orgasm in both men and women.
So a little bit of that conversion is actually a good thing, a necessary part of the process.
It's a critical part of the benefit. The danger only comes when the terrain, that 95%, is broken and you get excessive conversion. That's when you run into trouble.
And we're seeing this discussed more for men and women, maybe starting around 35, 45, if the blood work shows a real need.
Yes, it's about restoring quality of life. But again, it fails miserably if that 95% isn't there.
Okay, let's talk about the silent managers of stress. The
Mhm.
adrenals, cortisol, and DHEA.
These are the ones getting hammered in modern life. When your adrenals are running on fumes, your tolerance for any kind of stress, physical or emotional, just drops off a cliff.
A traffic jam suddenly feels like the end of the world.
Exactly. And this deficit is so often misdiagnosed, especially in women. In your late 30s, 40s, you see these symptoms get bundled under things like chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgia.
And a big piece of that puzzle is often hormonal.
It's profoundly linked. An inability to manage stress properly because of low cortisol or a deficit in DHEA leads to that feeling of just constant crushing exhaustion.
Let's talk about DHEA's specific role here. You called it anti-catabolic.
Right. DHEA is a precursor to other hormones, but its most important job in this context is to be anti-catabolic. Chronic stress means high cortisol, which breaks down your muscle for emergency energy.
That's proteolysis.
Right. DHEA steps in to try and compensate, to protect your muscle from being cannibalized by stress. It's the firefighter trying to mitigate the damage cortisol is causing.
Now, you made a clear distinction. This isn't the same as severe cases where people need hydrocortisone replacement.
No, not at all. That's reserved for when cortisol levels are near zero, like in Addison's disease. Those are patients with debilitating symptoms, like intense pain just from brushing their teeth. That's a survival intervention, not an optimization.
Shifting gears to female sex hormones. Estradiol, estriol, and progesterone. Obviously huge for perimenopause and menopause.
It can be absolutely life-changing. The
Yeah.
benefits are so wide-ranging, we see a massive positive impact on cardiovascular health, and improved lipid profile, better insulin sensitivity.
And beyond the internal health, there are the quality of life changes people can see and feel.
Absolutely. Better hair, better skin elastin. And critically, it increases bone mineral density, which is our best defense against osteoporosis. Plus, you get relief from issues like vaginal atrophy and a huge improvement in libido.
But with estrogen, there's always a major safety warning we have to highlight.
Yes, this is non-negotiable. If there's any personal or family history of estrogen-dependent tumors, breast, uterine, ovarian cancer, this has to be completely ruled out or managed with extreme caution by a specialist. The risks are real.
Okay, let's quickly touch on growth hormone, or GH, and IGF-1. This is becoming a big topic in anti-aging circles.
It is. For people in their 40s and 50s with low IGF-1 levels, there's growing interest because GH can help improve protein structures and prevent that catabolism, that tissue breakdown that comes with stress and aging.
It's about maintaining structure.
Exactly. And just to differentiate, we have to mention insulin. Insulin replacement for a type 1 diabetic is not optimization. It is survival.
It's a totally different category.
Completely. It's required because of an autoimmune failure. Without that insulin, your cells can't get glucose, protein, or water. You cannot survive. It's a black and white line between life support and quality of life management.
That distinction really hammers home why this next part is the most important piece of the whole puzzle. We have to come back to the core argument, the crucial 95%.
This is it. This is what separates success from expensive failure. The biological terrain is what determines your health, your performance, your mood. Hormones are the perfect adjuvant. They're the 5% polish on an already great system.
But if that 95% is a mess, the 5% just creates new problems. Let's use that first case study, the 50-year-old guy who wants testosterone.
Let's call him Dave. Dave's 50. He's got high visceral fat. His blood sugar is a mess, high cholesterol, hypertension. He feels sluggish, so he gets TRT.
But he doesn't change anything else.
Nothing. He doesn't change his diet, doesn't start moving. Yep. So his body sees this new testosterone, and because his metabolic terrain is so broken, it's highly likely to just aromatize.
It converts into estrogen massively.
Massively. And then you get the side effects that are way worse than just feeling sluggish. Gynecomastia, breast tissue development, benign prostate enlargement. and huge emotional swings because of that estrogen spike.
He took the 5% shortcut and it just amplified all his existing problems.
It poured gasoline on the fire.
Okay, now the stress case study. The futility of just taking DHEA if your life is a dumpster fire of stress.
It's like putting a Band-Aid on a dam that's about to burst. We know DHEA helps protect muscle. But if you're working 60 hours a week and sleeping 4 hours a night, your body is pumping out cortisol like crazy.
You're in constant fight or flight.
Constantly. So you can take DHEA all day long, but your body will just keep burning through it, trying to counteract the cortisol damage. You're fighting a chemical war you cannot win until you address the source of the stress.
So the path to success is always about improving that 95%. What's the prescription for that?
The sources lay out 4 pillars. First, personalized nutrition. Not just eat healthy, but a plan tailored to fix your insulin sensitivity and inflammation.
Second, directed exercise. And this is a key point. It's not just about burning calories.
No, it's about balancing weight training to support an anabolic state with some aerobic work. But you have to be careful not to overdo the cardio if you're already stressed out, because that just adds another stressor.
And the third pillar, the one that usually goes first when we're stressed, sleep.
You have to make it a priority. This is not the time to brag about how little you need. After a period of depletion, a divorce, a huge project at work, you might need 8, 9, even 10 hours a night for a while to repay that debt.
Sleep is when the repairs happen.
It's where the whole endocrine system resets. And finally, the fourth pillar is adding supported compounds like magnesium, which helps calm the nervous system and fight neuroinflammation. It's the whole integrated package.
This has been so clarifying. The big takeaway is that you can't look at any hormone in a vacuum. A woman in menopause might need estrogen and progesterone, but she also might need DHEA and testosterone for her libido and muscle.
It's an integrated ecosystem. Professional care that addresses the 95% nutrition, exercise, sleep. That's the only path to sustainable health. The hormones are the final tweak that lets you feel optimized, not the repair kit for a broken lifestyle.
We know that high stress, a brutal work schedule, major life changes, is chemically linked to low DHEA and low free testosterone. Your body is just throwing the kitchen sink at survival. So let's leave you with a provocative thought that brings that 95% rule right to your doorstep.
Think back over the last 6 months. Be really honest with yourself. Which single foundational element, sleep, directed exercise, or personalized nutrition, are you neglecting the most? Because that's the thing that's currently preventing any long-term hormonal success, no matter what your blood work says.
That's the real challenge. What's the one thing you can fix right now? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.